Long ago, when the skies still whispered secrets to the trees and the rivers carried the songs of the ancestors, two powerful kingdoms rose on opposite sides of the great river Niger. To the east, nestled in rolling hills and golden savannas, stood the kingdom of Calabar, a realm known for its scholars, healers, and wisdom keepers. Calabar was a land where knowledge flowed like water, and the people lived in harmony with nature. Its ruler, Queen Adesawa, was loved across the land. She wore a crown of carved ivory and gold, but her true power lay in her mind and her voice. Calm, calculating, and deeply spiritual, Adesawa was said to speak directly with the spirits of the land. To the west, surrounded by rugged mountains and volcanic stone, lay the kingdom of Zungu, forged by fire, might, and unshakable discipline. Its people were warriors, miners, and metalworkers. They valued strength and conquest. Their leader, King Damba, was a towering figure of muscle and command, clad in lion skin and forged iron. His roar on the battlefield was enough to freeze the blood of his enemies. Yet behind his fearsome gaze was a deep hunger, not just for land, but for legacy. For generations, these two kingdoms coexisted in peace. Trade routes between them flourished. Calabar sent scrolls of knowledge, medicinal herbs, and fine cloth. Zungu returned with raw minerals, weapons, and spices. A fragile but functional balance was kept. But beneath this peace, envy began to take root. King Damba watched Calabar's growing influence across the continent. Scholars from distant lands came to study in Queen Adesawa's libraries. Oracles whispered that Calabar held ancient scrolls, writings from the first civilization, that contained untold magical knowledge. Damba, though respected as a warrior, despised being seen as just muscle. He believed Zungu too was entitled to power over the spiritual world. He began to question the peace. Why should wisdom be hidden behind walls? Why should one kingdom hold the keys to the gods? And so the seeds of war were planted, not with swords, but with suspicion. In the shadow of mountains and temples, two destinies began to move toward collision. Neither Queen Adesawa nor King Damba could yet see it clearly, but the ancestors had already stirred. The drums of peace still beat, but the winds were shifting. The sun rose slowly over the river Niger, casting its golden light on the two kingdoms it divided. Calabar in the east, Zungu in the west. For years, the river had been a symbol of balance and unity, but now it felt more like a line drawn in the dust before a fight. Peace had begun to fray. Whispers turned into accusations. Messengers who once brought silk and spices now carried tension and cold stares. Something was changing. One night, under a moonless sky, the kingdom of Zungu made its move. Led by General Bakari, Zungu's most feared war tactician, a group of elite soldiers crept across the river in silence. Their mission was simple: infill and steal the ancient scrolls said to contain secrets of nature, healing, and the old gods. These were not just scrolls, they were Calabar's spiritual backbone, passed down from seers and priestesses over generations. Inside the temple walls, the Calaban monks were deep in prayer. The Zungu spies moved like shadows, their blades glinting faintly. Before the first rooster crowed, they were gone, and so were the scrolls. Queen Adesawa awoke to the sound of temple bells ringing in distress. She rushed to the sacred chamber, and when she saw the empty scroll shelves, her heart broke. Not just from the theft, but from the betrayal. They crossed the river in darkness, her high priestess whispered, and they took what was never theirs. Adesawa summoned her council and sent swift messengers to Zungu, demanding the return of the scrolls and an apology. But King Damba met the messengers with fury. Sitting high upon his iron throne, surrounded by his generals, he dismissed the queen's demand. The gods gave knowledge to the earth, he bellowed, and no single kingdom has the right to hoard it. Let her know, I do not kneel before scrolls or songs. His words spread like wildfire. The border was sealed, trade was suspended. Fear crept into villages that once knew peace. Worse still, the sacred river Niger, once free to all, became a battleground of rumors and sabotage. Fishermen vanished. Zungu patrols seized Calaban traders. And Calabar's scouts spotted Zungu soldiers building strange war machines near the border. Queen Adesawa remained calm on the surface, but in her private chamber, she lit a black candle, the signal to awaken the Order of the Blue Flame. Calaba's secret line of defenders sworn to protect the balance of the world. War had not yet begun. But peace, once thick as a forest, was now dry as tinder. It would take only one spark. The skies over the plains of Gabara were dark with storm clouds. The land, once green and fertile, now trembled under the weight of war drums. At the edge of the battlefield, the banners of Calaba fluttered gently in the wind, sky blue cloth stitched with golden suns, symbols of wisdom and peace. Across the field, red and black flags bearing the sigil of a roaring lion marked the presence of Zungu, fierce and unyielding. The two armies stood like titans on opposite ends of the plain. On the Calaba side, Queen Adasawa stood tall upon a stone platform, her robes flowing like river water, her face calm but firm. Beside her were her blue flame warriors, elite defenders cloaked in spirit-woven fabrics that shimmered with ancestral power. Among them, the high priestess of the moon stood with a staff, murmuring chants to shield the minds of their soldiers from fear. In the ranks were young warriors, armed with bronze spears, circular shields, and eyes full of purpose. Though trained in the arts of combat, most of Calaba's forces had never fought a real war. Yet, their queen's presence gave them strength. On the Zungu side, King Damba sat atop a black war elephant, his chest bare, painted in red clay symbols of ancient victories. His general, Bakari, barked orders down the line, commanding a force of hardened fighters, warriors with scars like maps, carrying jagged spears and flame-forged blades. At their rear stood earth shamans, drumming with hands stained in ash, calling upon the fire spirits of their ancestors. Then, silence. The two leaders stepped forward from their armies. Queen Adesawa raised her voice. "This battle does not need to happen. Return what you stole, let our people live." King Damba's response was simple. "If peace is built on chains, then I choose war." He raised his spear. The battle began. The earth shook as both sides charged. Spears clashed, shields shattered, dust and blood filled the air. Calaba's blue flame warriors moved like shadows, striking with precision. Zungu's axemen came like thunder, overwhelming with brute force. Above it all, chants of ancient magic echoed. The Calaban priestesses called down blue fire that licked the ground like waves. The Zungu shamans summoned blasts of earth and flame that tossed warriors like leaves in the wind. Horses screamed, arrows whistled. A young Calaban warrior, Tari, barely out of training, locked eyes with a Zungu soldier and hesitated, only to be shoved aside as the blue flame protector, Ayana, deflected the enemy's blade. War was chaos, not glory. At the battle's center, General Bakari and Calaba's commander Obayomi finally met in combat, steel on steel, history colliding in fury. Their blades sang, sparks flew, and the ground beneath them cracked with the weight of destiny. By nightfall, neither side had won, but both had lost something far greater than they realized. In the shadows of the trees, something ancient stirred. From the edge of the forest walked a figure cloaked in tattered brown robes, his feet bare, his staff carved with spirals of time. His skin was deep like burnt mahogany, his beard long and knotted with shells. His eyes, though blind, glowed with a white light that seemed to see more than sight ever could. This was Baba Olarun, the seer of the forgotten path. He stepped into the center of the battlefield, and with a voice like wind over dry bones, he spoke. "Children of Calaba, children of Zungu, hear the voice of the ancestors." Soldiers from both kingdoms, bleeding and breathless, turned toward him. "The gods are displeased," Baba Olarun continued. "If this war continues, the black sands will rise, your kingdoms will crumble, your names will be forgotten. The river shall dry and fire will devour your children's dreams." A chill swept across the plains, even the wind stilled. But hope is not yet lost. A child of Calaba and a child of Zungu, bound by fate, not blood, will restore the broken sky. Together they must rise, or together all shall fall. And with that, the old seer vanished. Some claimed he turned into a cloud of white birds. Others said he melted into the earth like dust. All knew the gods had spoken. That night, far from the battlefield, two young hearts stirred with purpose. Princess Nia, daughter of Queen Adiswa, and Prince Zuberi, son of King Damba, met up by fate at the Whispering Falls, a sacred place where the borders of both kingdoms blurred. Their eyes met. No words were spoken. They both knew they were the prophecy. And so, under the falling water, two future rulers made a silent vow to end the war, even if it meant betraying everything they knew. After a long silence, I was raised to hate your people, Naya said softly. Not with bitterness, but with pain. Zuberi nodded. And I was taught to see yours as liars and thieves. But I've looked into their eyes on the battlefield and saw men no different from ours. They spoke of the dead, of the broken, of the lies their kingdoms told to fuel the fire. And together they realized the war wasn't about scrolls or pride anymore. It had become a machine that fed on fear, and only something brave and dangerous could stop it. Under the stars, Naya and Zuberi made a pact. We will not be our fathers, Zuberi said. We will build a bridge with our own hands, Naya replied. Even if we must bleed for it, they said together. They planned to gather a secret alliance of warriors, healers, and elders from both kingdoms, those who still believed in peace. They would expose the lies, stop the final war, and prove the prophecy true. But every step would be a risk. Their kingdoms would not forgive betrayal easily. Even being seen together could mean death. Unbeknownst to them, their movements had not gone entirely unnoticed. In the shadows of the trees near the falls, a Zungu scout watched. His name was Okoro, one of General Bakari's most loyal spies. He had been tracking Zuberi since whispers of his doubt began. And now, seeing the prince consorting with the enemy princess, he had all the proof he needed. Insight later, he slipped away and reported back to General Bakari.